Hello, it's Glenda of Knittin' Ninja, and today we're going to teach you how to knit. We're going to start with the basics. We're going to show you how to make a slip knot, to cast on, to knit stitches, purl, and cast off. That's a huge order, but we're going to try to do it all in a matter of, well, not 5 minutes, but pretty darn close. And I doubt I'll make it because there's a lot of information that's actually pertinent. Now first off, let's start with the slip knot. Do you have your trailing yarn? You take the yarn that goes to the skein, that'll be over on your right side, and just kind of loop it over your finger and make sure, right, it makes a little X like that. Hold on to that little X with your thumb and give it a little slack because we are going to take this yarn that's from the skein, you're going to bring it underneath and through the loop, and you have a lovely slip knot. See? Not really hard. And now what we're going to do is put this slip knot onto a needle, and I'm going to be holding it in my left hand, and I'm going to call it the left needle because I like it that way. And I'll call this one the right needle because I'm holding it in my right hand, you know, make it easier. And now you have your first stitch, even though you didn't cast it on, you just did a slip knot, but that is still considered, when you're counting your stitches for your project, that's still considered stitch. Now, for knitted cast on, you're using 2 needles. You take the point of your right needle and put it through that stitch there that you just put on to the slip knot. That's why you don't want to pull it so darn tight. Okay, see how it looks there? You go from front to back. And let's talk about tension before I go any further. Tension is super important. It controls the tightness or the looseness of the yarn and how it works into the fabric and how your project is going to look. Does your project look like, oh my goodness, you didn't hold your needles or you didn't hold your yarn tight enough? It's because your tension was too loose, you weren't doing it correctly, and that can be a challenge for some people. For me, I was real lucky. I mean, I think when you first start, you have a tendency to be extreme, either extremely loose or extremely tight. I was a bit tight, and over the years just like, oh, okay, and I really like my tension as it is now. But how you hold and keep your tension, you're saying, oh, you're talking a lot about it, show us about it. We're going to show you. I wrap the yarn around my pinky like this, and then I put it to the back of the ring finger, in front of that big finger, and in back of the index finger. Of course, this is my right hand, obviously, and there you have tension. And this is how I do it. I keep my tension this way. It just holds the yarn for me, and the flow is nice and smooth, and that's what I'm used to. So before you get too far into knitting, please figure out a way to keep your tension, okay? And you do it with your fingers. Some people just do like that. Some people, I think, do other stuff, and it freaks me out because I'm so used to the way I do it, and you'll figure out the way you do it. But for now, please do it the way I do it, and then, you know, after you get more comfortable with it, you'll figure out what works best for you. Okay, so now having said that, let's go ahead and make our first cast on knitted stitch. Okay, we're going to bring that yarn there that I was holding in my right hand, put it over the right needle, and we're going to pull the right needle down nice and slow. I use bamboo stitches, by the way, or I would if I were you, because it holds the yarn a little better, whereas metal is nice and slick and slippery, and for the more advanced, that's a good thing. And we're going to go ahead and pull this out. You've made your first stitch. Go ahead and put that stitch on the left hand needle like that. Okay, now you have 2. Now I'm going to show you again how I did that. Okay, right, I do that. I don't have my yarn tension because I always do this first. Right, that can be a bit of a pill there. You can actually use that later on though, your little tail as counterweight, and you'll see what I mean whenever you get there. Okay, again, the yarn that you're holding in your right hand and you're keeping your tension, bring up and over, pull it through, and hopefully the yarn comes with. And whenever you do, go wee because it is difficult, and put it on. Okay, so we have made our first cast on knitted stitch, and there it is. And now to do the rest. You're thinking, okay, what was so hard about that? Then you're really good if you're thinking that. This is actually counted as that first stitch, you know, that slip knot. Like I don't know if I told you that or not, but it is the only time whenever you're casting on that you're actually going to go into this stitch. Afterwards, since now you have 2 stitches, and you'll have more as you go, obviously, you're going to be putting the tip of the right needle in between the stitches, okay? Right? You see that? It's totally in between. You don't go to the front like that. Or, not really to confuse the issue, just briefly, there are at least 12 to 13 different ways to cast on, and there's probably even more. So I'm teaching you what I know and what is also a good way to do it. And I'm not saying that the others are not a good way to do it. This is just how I do it. Okay? Right, so now you've put the tip of your right needle in between, I'm outside and there's gnats hanging around here, in between your stitches, okay? And you're going to take your yarn, when you got in a tension there with your right hand, keeping your tension, bring it up and over your right needle just like you did when you were making your first stitch. And hopefully the yarn comes with you. If not, just if it goes, oh, just go ahead and do it again, because by the way, it will. It's just practice, practice, practice. Okay, up and over, through. All right, bring that yarn over, and I kind of slip it up like that. And there you go. Now you have 3 stitches. Okay, let's do that again. Again, between the stitches here, between the stitches. All right, and up and over. There you go. And you're kind of getting the hang of it. Kinda. Okay. Up and over. And there you go. Slip it on the left-hand needle. And you kind of got a thing going here now, huh? Just a little. Just a little. Never mind that little tail for right now. Right? Up and over. I may be going too fast. And if that's... Don't worry about it. You will get faster. Again, just practice, practice. You can see this is a nice cast on, right? It's sturdy. You're not gonna have to worry about stitches falling out later on. I've kind of seen some tutorials on the internet that kind of have me scratching my head like, how does that work? So I just, again, stick with what I know because it works for me, and I guarantee it will work for you. Okay, again, one more time, we're going to take the yarn that we have. See, I've got my tension going. Pull it a little bit so you can make sure that the yarn comes with you. And again, if you didn't catch this in the first part of this, I was talking about using bamboo. I would use bamboo for your beginning attempts because it kind of holds the yarn. Now when you're wanting to go faster, that's a pain in the you-know-what. But I think I just prefer bamboo myself because you have a sense of friction and it's going to stay there, okay? All right, I'm going to cast on a couple more stitches. Don't worry about the speed or lack of. Okay, you know what? That's plenty. Okay, now we want to stop. Okay, we've got, let's say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. By the way, I just count by multiples of 2. That is just the way I do it. You can do it by 1, 3, or it might be one of those really fortunate people who can look at it and just know by looking at it. And if you are, give me a call, okay? I want to know how you do that. Anyway, for the first knit stitch, we're going to actually make some, we're not just going to cast on anymore, we're actually going to make a fabric. Okay, you put the tip of your right needle into, like we did the first time we cast on the stitch there from the slip knot. Going to put it in there from front to back, and this is what we consider knitting. All right. Okie dokie. And then we're going to bring it over like we did for that. Okay, and you've got, see, your little loop there, but instead of putting it on the left, we just took it off the left. Okay, show you that again. Tip of the right needle, there's my dogs moving around, and you put it from front to back. Okay, so now we're knitting and not just casting on. Woohoo! Show you here in a minute. Again, you take the yarn that goes to the skein. It'll be in your right hand. You bring it over that needle and you pull it through, and instead of like looping it over like you were doing for casting on, you drop that stitch very carefully. You have a knit stitch. Again, right there. See? I kind of keep the stitches close to the end, but be careful, again, not to slip them off. Then you're going to have to start all over. Okay? Alright, tip of the right needle going into the stitch, going from front to back. The yarn is going over your right needle, and you're kind of giving a little tension there. That lovely yarn. I'll show you. You kind of get an idea. I'm being very boring right now. Okay, now we have a row of knit stitches. You can't really see it very well because it's not very much, but I'll show you after I show you how to do the purl stitches. And I want to get that long out of the way. Okay, so now you've knit all the stitches across, and you're stuck with this, and you're thinking, okay, what do I do now? Good question. So you turn it around, right? So that you're actually working, well, depending, if you're doing reverse stockinette stitch, then this is the right side. If you're doing stockinette stitch, this is the wrong side. And by stockinette stitch, what that is the pattern of knitting one side like we did and purling one side like we're going to do. Okay? Now purling, I don't know, for a bunch of us knitters, purling is not as easy as knitting. And you're like, I'm having trouble already, Glenda. All right. You will, I don't know, if you're a purler versus a knitter, you are actually in the minority. Okay, now I just kind of got ahead of myself there. We're going to take the tip of the right needle, and instead of going from front to back, we're going to go back to front. You see where that is on that first stitch? We're going to go, there you go. And then I go ahead and get my yarn ready by tensioning the yarn. Bring it over again, back like we did, and over, and you kind of have to pull it over there, because now you're pulling it through, right? It's basically a backwards knit, and that's why I think knitters don't especially care for purl so much, because it does require a little more effort. Again, from back to front, you take the yarn that's all nice and tensioned in your hand over, and you kind of hold it like that. And then you pull it down, and kind of, you'll see a lot of us pushing the needle with our thumbs. That's just something that helps. And you slip it off, and you have purls. Hey, and we've changed the angle here. I'm not sure I was liking what I was seeing there, so let's try it this way. Start again. We've done a few purls already, but let's go ahead and make a few more from this angle. Now, again, your yarn is going to be, alright, in your right hand, it's going to be in the front of the needle, and you're going to bring the right needle from back to front. See that? Now bring this yarn, and you kind of sometimes have to hold your work like that, by the way, too. Bring your yarn around the needle. See how I just did there? And then pull it down, and definitely whenever you're purling, you'll find that you're pushing on this needle here. It's okay. And then you push this little stitch off, and you've made a purl. Okay? Again, we're going to pull it through from front, back to front. We're going to wrap it around. Going to give it a little bit of tension there to make sure that the yarn comes with you. And there you are. You have made one, and you just need to slip it off. Okay? See, look at there. Now you can always tell, see the purl side? And whenever we turn over, I'm going to show you the knit side. And this is why stockinette stitch, if you want like a smooth look, is your best, stitch to work with, your pattern. Okay? Again, make sure that yarn's in the front. You're going from back to front. Bring the yarn up, over, right, and push that little darn thing through. Okay, I know it probably doesn't help, but it does help me. And just drop the stitch off the left needle onto the right, and there you go. I'm going to show just a couple of times of me just doing it. Try not to get the thumb in the way so you can see what's happening. Back to front, over, through, drop. Excuse me, not drop, slip. And I'm misusing that term. Anyway, there you go. You're going to push it onto that needle. There we go. And now you're knitting and you're purling. Okay, like I said, I'll turn it around and I'll show you. See how much nicer that is? Now this is what you probably recognize as a knitted stitch. Actually, that's what we call a stockinette stitch because it's one side you're doing the knit stitch, on the other side, see, you're doing the purl. And some people like the reverse stockinette stitch because it's nice and textured like that. Whereas here you kind of have that nice, the sock look. I don't know. But that's what I think of when I think of knitting. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of inches on this, and then I'm going to show you just how to cast off. Okay? Now, as you can see, I have here a fairly nice little patch of fabric there, and I'm going to just show you how you cast off. All right, nothing too fierce, nothing too rough, and hopefully, by the way, you did at least this much, if not more, in practice. Okay? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to act like we're knitting. In fact, I would go ahead and knit. Right? You're going to knit one stitch. Okay, if you knit one stitch, then you knit another one. Right? Now what you do is you take the tip of your left needle and put it, I got an animal over there, put it in the front of your stitch like that. Okay, you're going to skip the stitch and go to the one right behind it, and you're going to pull it up. Right, well, you don't want to start that far down the needle, but then you're going to pull it over. See what I just did there? Just stitch. Now you've just cast that one stitch off. Let's do it again. Knit. Alright. Take the tip of your left hand needle, put it into the stitch right there that, you skip that first stitch and go to the second. Pull it off. Right, now you've just cast off that stitch. You see how you kind of have a cast off edge right there? Okay, let's do that again. You're going to knit, since you're pretty darn good at that by now, I'm sure. And then you're going to take the left hand needle, tip of it, and put it in your stitch like that, and bring it over, keeping that there. Okay, cast off another. See how you're doing it? You're just bringing on a new stitch, taking the old stitch there, the older one, pulling it over very carefully, because you don't want to drop both of them. And then you're casting off. Alright? Okay, let's do that. Whoa, oh, there we go. See? Happens. And while you're doing this, you kind of want to keep your tension the same as when you were knitting, or doing the fabric itself. Okay. Alright, yeah, see, it's quick, and we're going to have here in a moment, I want to show you what you're going to do whenever you get down to that last stitch, because you're thinking, hey now Glenda, you can already see where this is going, can't you? Alright, you're going to have only one stitch, and that will be right here. Right, and just continue like you. Okay, and at this point, you pull the yarn through like you just saw me do, and go ahead and snip right here. And here's my scissors. There you go. Pull it through. There. Nice little piece of fabric, which you can do absolutely nothing with. But it was a good start, you guys. Alright, see, there's the back. That's what looks like the back, that's what the back of the stockinette stitch looks like. And some people do like to do their projects this way versus that. It's however you want it to look. It's totally up to you. So I'll see you next time.